Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is well. Got a story that I want to share with you from Redacted. This is going to be for teaching purposes, primarily for African American people, uh, African American churchgoers. And I'm talking about it because I talked about this stuff like way before 2012. I want to say I probably talked about it maybe in 2014, 2015, because I was trying to get African American faith based organizations into getting grant money to build up our communities because I saw how much money was going to Jewish social services, the Jewish federations, Catholic social services, white Christian organizations, Samaritan's Purse, government money, taxpayer money, money that came out of our paychecks was going to everybody but us. And because I work in the nonprofit sector, I could see how much money was going to help illegal entrants, people who were undocumented. And, when I moved to Florida, I just got a whole other piece of the picture and I was astounded. And it made me angry because I was like, this country don't have money for reparations, but they give money to all these different organizations every single year, year after year after year. And now that we are in the midst of this new world order, and since Papa came into office, things just got amplified. And I hate to make it political because both parties have allowed this funneling of money to these two or three um, non-governmental organizations for decades. It is now becoming apparent why these organizations were allowed to get all this money. So I'm not going to continue to talk about this. I'm going to let Mr. Charlie and them tell you about what's happening. And I hope it's a wake up call for Black people, African American, so called African American Black people, because we've been not only sold out, our money for decades has been taken from us, our children, our great grandparents, our parents. Um, we've paid more for everything. And not only that, they have resettled so many illegal entrants in our communities and given them resources that they have never given to us. If you are still hoping and praying that this is going to be a place for, a refuge for you, or they like you, or they're going to help you, you crazy. These people don't like you. They don't like us. They don't want us. They're trying to kill us. They've set up every snare and plot possible to make sure, we're conquered. And what you're gonna find at the almost at the end of this video, it's not a long video, it's 18 minutes. I'm gonna try to play most of it, is that they've allowed as many illegal entrants to come into this country as there are Black people, allegedly, according to the United States Census. And you have to understand, if they've done this, they let in a certain number for a reason. So they talk about 40 million, illegal entrants or migrants are here in this country illegally, and the amount of money that they've used to house and feed them and retrain them, so, give them work and put them up in housing, give them insurance, give them transportation. And a lot of it is done through these non-governmental organizations like Samaritan's Purse, like Catholic Social Services, and the Jewish social services. So, I just also find it interesting that the two groups, two religious factions that come from Rome, created by the Roman Catholic Church, are also a part of this, you know, reshaping of what the globe will look like, in the coming, well, it's already here, in the new world order. So it is very crazy, but it's funny that now Mr. Charlie and them, they are openly talking about it. Now, make no mistakes about it, they always knew because they always know everything. Don't let them fool you that they didn't know. They knew, but now it's impacting them. When it was just us being harmed, when they were putting these people in our communities, giving them money, and black people didn't know. They knew people were coming, but they didn't know all the ins and outs and where the money was coming from, how it was happening. But they knew these people are here. Where they coming from? Why they put them here? They didn't. These white people didn't care. They did not care because guess what? The suburbs weren't touched. The gated communities were not touched. The upper middle class and wealthy white people, their communities were relatively sanitized and white and not touched. But now this is touching everybody. You can't deny it. You can't ignore it. You can see it. It's everywhere. Even if you don't watch the news, even in the little place where I live, I can see these people everywhere. They're all over the grocery stores. They're working in Ross and in places that they never worked before. I saw one Hispanic lady working as the manager at Chick-fil-A in my lily white and black rural community. It's happening in the Midwest. It's happening in New York. It's happening here in rural parts of South Carolina. It's been going on for a long time, and people were not talking about it. Um, Thankfully, I went to a progressive multicultural church that talked about it and hipped us black folks to what was going on. But and then it had a little racist tint to it, but all of it at the end of the day, this is all about race. It's all about nations. It's all about erasing Jacob and uh, destroying our people so that these white people can continue to rule. And they know all these other groups will they've taught them to hate us. Everybody hates us because they know we're blessed. So when you listen to this story, think about it from a perspective of um, Cain and Abel, um, Isaac and Jacob. Just, just think of it from a biblical perspective. Um, we are the people, and they are not the people. Um, Esau and them hate us, and the hate is perpetual. They're not going to stop trying to get rid of us. And we have to understand that while the whole nation and the whole globe is experiencing this shift or this migration, it doesn't matter whether it's on the continent of Africa or South America, Europe, here in America. At the end of the day, everything is about us. And so that's the takeaway. We cannot forget that. So listen to this.
Getting crazier and crazier. You better pay attention. Wake up, America, as to what is happening right now. The more we learn about it, the more troubling it is. The United States government working hand in hand with non governmental organizations, NGOs, to bring millions of illegal immigrants into the United States. If you don't think this is all planned, then you need to get your head examined. Nothing happens by coincidence. This is all part of a massive operation. J.J. Carroll is a 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection. And what he's just uncovered as part of his new documentary called Treason is just astonishing. JJ has been kind enough to send me dispatches of the documentary as they are filming this, and it's just jaw-dropping. Speaking with sources at these NGOs who don't want their face on camera, they don't want their voices on camera either. They are what they're telling JJ is just shocking. Listen.
It was Jewish Family Services, and then you had Jewish Family Services who also had these underlying NGOs under them, whether it be Lutheran Family Services, Catholic Family Services, and then all these different family services, but they all have the same parent company.
So you would pay Jewish Family Services, and then they would pay
It would have all of the subcontractors, but they all have the same payee for the most part.
And JJ joins us now fresh off of that latest trip. JJ, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Clayton. I'm really excited about talking about this is the greatest.
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon, and you should too. Don't spend another dime on Amazon.
Crime that is going to be uncovered in the next several years is the partnership between NGOs and the federal government, and the tune of tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, after this 4-year term of Biden's over.
So you don't have to tell us the location because we don't want to give away any sources of who you spoke with, who obviously didn't want their face on camera. But you went into this, I think, with some ideas about how these NGOs were operating, right? These non-governmental organizations, there's thousands of them that are ferreting individuals across the border and then dispersing them across the United States, a lot of them with funding from the United States government. But when you set foot into these interviews, did it stun even you, or did you already know all of these things?
No, it did stun me. If I'm being completely honest, I had a very good idea of what was going on, what was transpiring. But when you talk to people that are inside those meetings, so the individual that I talked to was a DHS employee. He was the guy that cut the checks to the NGOs. And he's telling me, he's laying it out for me about what this looks like. He cut checks to Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities, and a couple other. And I said, tell me about, just give me an example. And he goes, okay, Jewish Family Services, let me explain how this works. So Jewish Family Services, I said, tell me the amount, okay, before you get started. He said, $600 million. And I said, okay, was that 2 or 3 years contract? He goes, no, that was like 2, 3 to 6 months max. Wow. Max. And then he said, what was really stunning to me is this is where the money laundering scheme comes in. So he goes, you have Jewish Family Services at the top. He says they have 50, so let's just say 50 to 100 subcontractors underneath him. After I give them, he's telling me, after I cut that check for $600 million, then those smaller subcontractors that are responsible for food, clothing, housing, whatever that $600 million does not cover or did not cover enough, those subcontractors call us and say, we need 10 million here, we need 5 million here. And I say, well, do you vet it? He goes, no, we're in emergency mode. So we cut the checks immediately to him. Immediately. And he says, but this is where it gets crazy, JJ. He said, when I cut the checks to the subcontractors, I'm cutting the check to the same payee. I'm sending the same funds to Jewish Family Services, the same account. So you have Jewish Family Services getting $600 million, but you have 50 to 100 subcontractors that I'm paying, but I'm paying to the same bank account.
All right. So this is how the Ponzi schemes keep on rolling in this country. We keep wondering, like, how do these people get all this money? How do they do all this stuff? This is how they do it. The government is like the biggest pot of money. Like, it's just the easiest to scam, and everybody seems to just be in on the scam. We can't get nothing, but everybody else is just like balling out of control. And I used to always wonder, it's like, how come everybody got social service organizations but Black people? Well, we kept out of the loop of everything. We don't know anything. And not only that, when those of us like myself who do know and we approach our so-called community organizations and faith-based organizations, they don't want nothing to do with it. They don't want to do the work. They want to talk. They want to, they just don't want to wouldn't set up anything so they could do this. They got time for everything except for getting the bag. This is our money, like money that this country owes us. And we can't even set up vehicles. And now I'm not saying to do it to scam, because they would never let us do that. But even just to build up our community and serve our people on our own, we wouldn't even do that. And I can't tell you how many churches, how many pastors, how many faith-based organizations I worked with personally, Black ones. I could not get one to do right. I couldn't get them to do the presentations. I couldn't get them to sit down for 4 days, take the time to invest into setting up structures like these uh, white folks do and getting money. Millions of dollars every year, $700 million every year. You don't think that Black people could have set up a set of social service organizations that only served our people or did the same thing? Not that I recommend helping illegal entrants, but we could have helped poor Black people. We could have helped. We could have created our own schools. We could have done a whole lot of stuff. But we didn't necessarily have the same agenda. So I'm not saying anything about that agenda, but I'm just, putting it forward that they have money for this to help destabilize the world, to replace us, but they don't have money to help us and repay us, give us reparations. Now they complain about they can't give us billions of dollars. Now white people, they complain about they can't give you billions of dollars to repay what they've done to us, but they have money for illegal entrants. They have money for Catholic social services, for Jewish social services, for Samaritan's Purse. So they have money for white interests. They have money as long as it keeps war going because they make money from war. They have money to kill us and pursue us because it's in their interest to keep us oppressed and asleep and deceased, dying in sin so that we can't cry out to the Most High and get them out of power. So these plans that they have go way, way, way back. And when you look at who's getting the money and who orchestrated us being here, like it all makes sense. It just all makes sense. And now that everything is being exposed, of course, they got to have the new thing to run to. It's already established, but they don't care about you knowing now because this is done. So this is just another um, nail in the coffin to let us know that this place is done and we should be planning accordingly. This is why, I can't stress enough about prepping, having a plan to escape, to be ready to get out of here. If there is a corridor or something opened up for us, or just be ready spiritually for the second Exodus, because nothing good is coming from this.
It's Jewish family services. It's all a lie. It's just all a lie.
He said it's all a lie. That's the best part of the whole damn video for me. Everything is a lie. Everything. Everything. Doesn't matter. Khazars are white people. And, New Khazaria is doing what it does best. It is controlling all the money. And they are using, you look at President Papa Poopy Pants, he is a Catholic. And Catholic Social Services is getting all this money. You look at and nobody's making no fuss about it. They were so concerned about John F. Kennedy being a Catholic, la la. This dude is an open practicing Catholic. No, nobody say nothing. And then the Jewish connection. You got the first uh, vice president who's a Khazar. All this money is going everywhere. You got the head of DHS. He's Catholic and Jesuit trained. Like, if y'all can't see the connections to what's happening, Khazarians run everything. They're in Congress. They run the banks. They run the Federal Reserve. They run the Department, the Treasury. Almost every bank, every industry that's got something to do with some money or a corporation, they run it. And if they weren't Jesuit trained, even if they're Hispanic, they went to a Catholic school or they went to Jesuit school. The connections are everywhere for Catholicism and um, the Khazarians. So it's all coming out now. Everything is being revealed. It's all a lie. Everything that we've ever known, everything that we thought, has been a lie.
And I said, okay, well, you cut $600 million check. Are you now tracking that to check? And he goes, listen, you have to understand, JJ, nobody's following the money. No one cares. He says, you have to understand the federal government created a chaotic situation on the border. You have millions of people coming to the border. The Border Patrol, DHS, CBP, FEMA, no one has the resources, manpower to move millions of people from the border into America. That's where the NGOs come in. The NGOs are the movement of people and goods into America. That is the evil partnership between the government and the NGOs.
Did he give you a sense?
Now y'all see that? Did y'all see all those men? Let me go back, see if I can. Did y'all see anyone?
Border Patrol, DHS, CBP, FEMA, no one has the resources, manpower to move millions of people from the border into America. That's where the NGOs come in. The NGOs are the movement of people and
Did y'all see the physiques of those men? A lot of them had their heads covered, faces covered. And I don't know what the weather is because I don't know when this was taken. But the point is, you didn't see any women, no children, just young, fit men. If you think they're not going to be in our communities screwing with us, you are wrong. If you think white people, they ain't coming to your communities, they're coming for y'all too. Unfortunately, y'all didn't care enough about us, and so y'all about to get some smoke too. Um, Black people, y'all really need to be paying attention to this story because it is super important. Where we are, these people are. I see them. I see how they look at us. We already know they don't like us. So it's not far fetched that when they have assignments to do harm to us, everybody got an assignment. They ain't just coming here for nothing. They ain't coming here for work. They coming for work, all right. They have an assignment by the UN. They have an assignment by this government. They got assignments from Rome and the Khazars. They got jobs to do. Their job is to attack us first and foremost. So when they talk about civil war, yeah, they know it's going to kick off with us because these people are going when they get the call, they're going to start messing with our people, with our men, because they're already in our communities. And, and they're in rural places. So it's going to be easy for them to take over the rural communities because the rural communities are already overrun with them. Um, it's just really crazy that people don't follow the money.
Goods into America. That is the evil partnership between the government and the NGOs.
Did he give you a sense, because we have a segment coming up here tonight, we're going to talk about the United Nations and their collaboration on all of this and bringing in military-aged men. Did he give you a sense of why most of these people that you've been seeing, of course, on camera, are military-aged men between the ages of 25, 35 years old? You know, I think people out there think this idea of this like replacement theory that just sounds like a conspiracy theory, or the militarization of the United States, a sort of a United Nations army inside the United States and Europe to carry out plans for lockdowns, whatever it is. You know, did he give you a sense of why they all seem to be the same 25 to 35 year olds and they're all men?
He did, as well as many other investigative journalists that I have contacts with and my sources.
Do you really want to make your holiday special? Tanzania has got so much to offer. From the famous Serengeti National
They all believe that this is a military style invasion. Let me just tell you how this looks to us. When you attack a nation, you attack from multiple points of entry. You don't attack, this is not the Middle Ages where I'm attacking the moat and the drawbridge. I'm attacking multiple areas. So once you do that, you attack multiple areas, you make the inroads into America. Now, the United States government, who I believe is the enemy of our people, has already created the pathways, the highways,
I didn't say it. Mr. Charlie said it. Now, if Mr. Charlie who said it, y'all know something ain't right. Everybody can see what's happening, who is awakened. And some of these people can see, and they're only talking about it again because it's impacting them. They have been doing this to our community for decades. Every time a new group of immigrants come, where do they put them? They stick them in the ghettos where they stuck us. They stick them, in close proximity to us. They help them with refugee resettlement programs and put them in our communities. Or, they'll sometimes stick them someplace else, like in the Midwest or just in middle America, in the middle of no place. But primarily, they post them up in places when they're not white so that they can become the new blacks. And now they're sticking them everywhere. You can't hide them. You go out to Longhorn Steakhouse, they in there. You go to Ross, they're in there. Your kids are going to school with them, and they're undocumented. You go to the doctor's office, and there's more of them there than you. You see them shopping on the weekends uh, after they come from church with their families, and it's very noticeable. You notice how the grocery stores and big box retailers are catering to them, even convenience stores, employers. You can't go to an employer hardly without stuff being translated into Spanish. That's the dominant group of people they are allowing here that can't speak English. Everybody else speaks more than one language except for most Hispanics and Americans, because we don't have to learn nobody else's language. So it's just wild that they're saying it. Like they're saying all the quiet stuff aloud now. So I kind of like it.
the routes for the invasion to go into Middle America. So you don't invade a nation and just stay on our borders. You advance. You keep advancing. So when people are talking about the military age adult males that are pouring into our country, understand that they're anywhere from 50 to 70% of the total.
And y'all see, they all got on masks. They all got on those little head coverings. Everybody got backpacks. Everybody looks young and fit. It's not going to be pretty, family. It's not going to be pretty.
Illegal population coming into America. We've been sold this lie that's family units and babies and kids. Yes, there are that. But the single adult military age men are in the millions, tens of millions in America. You're looking at, you mentioned this perfectly. It's happening in Europe. Nothing happens in the world by happenstance. There's no willy-nilly, well, this is just how it's happened. It just happens that there's tens of millions of illegal middle military age adult men pouring into from the southern hemisphere, pouring into the western nations of the world. It's not by happenstance. And it's hard. I know it's hard to hear somebody say the federal government is doing this. And it's hard to comprehend what the manifestation of this will be, but it will be devastation and destruction. And I always ask this question, Clayton. If you do not agree with my conclusion, if you do not agree with my analysis, then tell me why the federal government under Joe Biden has brought in 30 million illegal aliens into our country. And no one can answer that.
Now, 30 million in 3 years, that don't include all the ones that Obama let come over here during his 8 years in office. So, like, it's a whole country, it's a whole new country basically of people propped up and cropped up in the cracks like bugs waiting to just come out and do whatever it is that they got to do. And I'm not saying that all these people are bad people, but you got to understand when you allow this many illegal entrants to come in, they change the nature of your nation. They change the culture. They change the ethos. You see how these people are coming? They're violent. They don't have any allegiance. And they talk about this at the end. I'm going to include a link to this video. But they talk about how these people don't have allegiance to this country. They weren't born here. Their allegiance is to their home nation. Once their assignments are over, they'll either go back to their nation or they may stay here. But I personally, because this is Mystery Babylon, I think it's going to be utterly destroyed and it's going to be a bloodbath. Whenever they get the call to start whatever it is they're getting ready to do. So this is why it's really important for Black people to be on guard. You got enemies all around. You got new enemies you don't even know nothing about. You got people in your communities you don't know who's watching you. You got your white people who are always trying to do something for you. That's your known open enemy. But now you got even more enemies you don't even know about. So, we have to take these stories seriously and understand that they are meant to get us in particular, because the more of us that are here, the more of us who cry out, the quicker the Most High can come and deliver us from their evil. They don't want us to be delivered. They want to keep ruling over us. The adversary wants to keep ruling over us, and he does it through these children of the corn. So as the children of the corn start seeing that they're losing power, that they're losing privilege, that their rule is over, they are crying and talking about it. So you got to pay attention to what they're saying because they all know the truth. It's coming out.
No, and I used to think, honestly, it was just focused on the election. I don't anymore. I think it's much bigger than that. And I think you're seeing what you're doing, this amazing work, is starting to really pull back the strings on this, pull back the curtain on this, and uncover a massive plot that I don't even think we fully understand how big this is. When you talk about the thousands of NGOs that are operating and delivering these people around the country, can you talk about some of the mechanisms? Did your sources at the DHS and otherwise tell you, how much money they're being given, what sort of tools and access these people are being given? Is there any sort of follow-up at all from the NGOs, from the Department of Homeland Security? Are they following up with monthly, weekly checks to make sure that they haven't killed somebody, they haven't raped somebody, they haven't, gotten DUIs? What sort of things the tools and things are they being given?
Okay, that's a great question. So I asked him that. I said, what does it look like? And he said, before I start to explain this, JJ, I want you to understand the federal government does not run the NGOs. The NGOs run our federal government. And I said, okay, well, explain that to me, clarify that. He said, you have to understand, we are in a chaotic emergency situation on the border. Tens of millions of people are crossing. Anywhere from 10 to 15,000 a day are still pouring across. The mechanism needed to move these people from the border into the interior is paramount. So the federal government does whatever the NGOs want and ask and demand for. He goes, we're buying with the NGOs are buying with our money brand new buses, buying uh, Mercedes-Benz vans, $150,000. They're paying nurses. One nurse, we documented in one of the videos I sent you, one nurse made $20,000 a week, not a month, a week. And that's one nurse.
They don't have money for reparations, but they got money to pay the Khazars and the white people $20,000 a week to be a nurse. Come on now. Come on.
Nurse. So the corruption. Okay, let me give you another example. I'll give you two examples. In San Diego, we filmed there just recently. Down in San Diego,
she looked at me like, "Do you think you can commit to me?" And I just looked at her and said,
just one hotel. Okay, this has been going on for almost 3 years, but just one hotel. There's many more. Let me just give you an example. Ramada Inn on Hotel Circle in San Diego. It's where Hotel Circle is where everybody goes to go to SeaWorld, the beaches in San Diego. So it could be anywhere from $300 to $500 a night at a Ramada Inn. They have walled off the Ramada Inn. No one from an average person can go in there and go, can I rent a room? It's all gated off. Fences with barbed wire and tarps with paid armed security, and the federal government is paying for every single room in Ramada Inn for almost 3 years now. They're getting 1,500 meals delivered a day at about $30 a meal.
Now, you got to know who these people are. Those are your blue hats and your red hats and your new military, your international military that's already here embedded for whenever things get popping off, they are ready to wake up, come outside with the uniforms on, and do whatever it is that they are assigned to do. So, I don't say this lightly that we have been sold out, but I mean that is the truth. And I know people who, think it's about politics because both parties have done it. Both parties had the power to address the border issue and they didn't. Both parties see what's happening. They sign off on this money that's going to these non-governmental organizations. And they can't say nothing because they got money going other places to their pet projects that they benefit from. So at the end of the day, the love of money is the root to all the evil that we see. And the Khazarians love money. So anywhere there's money, you're going to find them doing something, mixing up. But they got to tear this place down. They got to tear down the West, which are the white nations, because the white is the old order, and the black and brown is the new order, which is why you see so many black and brown um, young men, not a whole lot of black, but a whole lot of brown men in those lines, young military aged men, because they are going to be your law enforcement officers. Because white people not gonna do it no more. Because guess what? They're getting ready to be under attack too. They're gonna be treated like we were treated because they represent the oppressor. Uh, we have to be prepared for these folks who gonna be just roaming around. You don't know who is who and what is what. And I'm just tell you, no need for you to be all happy and cheery and welcoming, because they're not gonna be that. They're not gonna treat you that way. Trust me, they got orders to pick you up. They got orders to do stuff to you on site. So you better wake up, black people, and understand you don't got no friends. You don't have anybody who likes you, and ain't nobody coming to save you. So many of our people are going to be destroyed because they don't understand that. They've been taught by their enemy to love everybody, trust your enemy, keep forgiving your enemy. That's not what the Apocrypha told us to do. And they've taught us wrong, and unfortunately, it's going to be the demise. It will lead to the demise of a lot of our people, our men, women, and children, because they have a flawed teaching of what the Most High meant for His children.
Just one hotel. Let's look at the Row Hotel in New York City. It's housing about 5,000 people. For one person to eat for a whole year, and there's illegal aliens that have been there for over a year. Just this is staggering. To feed one person living in the Row Hotel is $36,000 a year.
Do you know how many groceries I could buy? I could buy a tiny house, feed myself, buy some land. I could do a whole lot with $36,000. One person. Some people earn $36,000 and have to live off of a whole entire year, pay all their expenses, and the government is, got people in these hotels paying this amount of money for one person to eat, and it's coming from us. Our tax dollars are taking care of these people. So and you just think, oh, my tax dollars. It's your children, it's your unborn grandchildren, your unborn great great grandchildren. These people have saddled us with so much debt, we will never be able to not be slaves. And that is what most people don't really understand. It's all about enslavement. They are tired of us and they need to replace us. And so this is how it's being done. Not just here in America, but in Europe and in Canada as well.
$36,000 a year. We're not even talking about hospital. We're not even talking about the nurses, the social working, the police presence that's there. Look, I'm going to Chicago in 2 days. I got a police.
And you heard him say he's going to Chicago. Notice that they're putting these people in these places where black people have been historically. It's not by accident. And so I keep saying that. Atlanta, New York, Chicago, St. Louis. Um, I don't know. I haven't really heard anything about Cincinnati, Ohio. I think Columbus, Ohio. You might as well say the whole entire state of Florida, the whole entire state of Texas, the whole entire state of California. And then, any place where there's a huge Latin American presence, of course, they're sticking them there. Any place there are large farms and meat processing plants and places where, people tend to not want to work because the wages are low, the hours are long, and the HR tends to turn a blind eye to stuff. They're sticking them there temporarily, and in big cities they got these hotels, old military bases. Like it's going down.
Police report of hundreds, if not thousands, of call outs to one shelter. Our police are going to the shelters for rapes, assaults, child molestation, drug dealing, pimping. People have no idea what's happening to our country, but the NGOs are facilitating all of it. Look, you the NGOs are child sex traffickers as well. It's hard to.
So I'm gonna stop it right there because I ain't going into that part. We all know the other stuff that's going on. So I'm going to put this video in the description so that you can watch it yourself. If you are interested in hearing that piece, this it's a lot. I'll just say that. But I just want to share with you, how African Americans are always the last to learn about, stuff like this because our people just refuse to get knowledge and understanding. And I'm gonna just keep laying it at the feet of our men. Our men refuse to grow up and become um, adults. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he was asking me about, what I do for fun. I was like, I read, I learn stuff. I don't have time to be watching TV. And he was like, you don't watch TV? No, I don't have time to watch TV. I watch movies only if it's related to, me keeping watch, or, trying to get some understanding about history, that type of thing. I said I didn't watch sci-fi, but I've started watching it because of what's going on with this new world order. And while he was somewhat awakened, he wanted to talk about the history and about how we've been lied to, but he didn't have any knowledge of present truth. He didn't want to know anything about what's going on now, because it would just keep him up, and he would just think about it and think about it and think about it. And I was like, well, the word tells you you're supposed to keep watch. You're supposed to think about it. It's supposed to stay on your mind. If you weren't supposed to keep watch, you wouldn't have been given instructions on what to do and what you will see while you're watching, so that you will know that, the word of the Most High is living and is true. Um, and I just could not convey to him how important it was. And I said, so our whole entire community basically could succumb to outside interference because y'all don't want to know nothing, because y'all, and not all men, but a lot of black men, y'all worried about chasing women and, watching a football game, basketball game, playoffs, uh, playing video games, hanging out, drinking on the curb, but not this that could preserve your life, not the enemy that's right in your neighborhood selling you gas, or, living across the street from you, or, hiding in houses stacked up, 5, 10 deep, waiting on the call to come outside and do something to you. They've been watching you, and you haven't been paying attention to them because you're scared. I don't know. I'm so frustrated, but, as always, I'm always ahead of, not bragging or anything, but I just have been blessed and kind of cursed to be able to see stuff way before other people can. And it's just very difficult talking to black people. I just know why we always stayed in captivity, because we are hard-headed. We are hard-headed. We don't listen. We don't believe. We don't trust each other. And, you got to know, so few of us are going to make it out of here because we are always behind. We don't have leaders who teach us what we need to be taught. And we don't have people with ears to hear. We just are stubborn. And this is very disheartening that our people don't really understand what's coming. But y'all need to know it's about to go down sooner than most of us think. So I want to share this with y'all, that these religious social service organizations are nothing but fronts for the New World Order, and especially over the last 3 years, but I would say goes back decades. This plan to change this country, well, not change the country, but, you know, go from one order to the next. This country was established for this particular time, and now this rule is over. They know the time is short, and so they gotta execute while they can, and they're going to. So just be ready, family. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.